Oh, welcome to Weeaboo Hell. It's Weeaboo Hell. We don't have any time to waste here. There's a... Oh,
Yeah, we've got events. We've got events. We have happenings this round.
I had a bad night last night to know. I waited until last night to do the reading, and I really shouldn't have done that to myself. It was a cruel thing to have done.
It's almost a very specific critical lane when you're sprinting through these things. I did it earlier in the week, so at least we'll get both fucking perspectives on this multi-car hospital train wreck. First off, just via the sheer power of relativity and for clarity, I want to say that the pain fight was probably just good. Like, probably just normal word, unqualified good. I want you to know that I am not, I don't know, an arbitrary hater. This isn't like anime sins or some shit. There is a scale of reaction.
I always worry about becoming anime sins. I always worry that when I am so deep in my hater, because yeah, I fucking am one. I'm not gonna run from it. That I start making bad faith arguments against things, and that fucks with my credibility. That is my, like, deep-seated fear as a, I don't know, talking head, whatever you would call me. All I've got this time is my feelings, Dennard. And you all listening, they're as valid as you want them to be.
Alright, so there are Sam's valid concerns in terms of his burn status as a talking head. The other thing I'm going to do up front before I start talking about this rancid piece of shit is I'm just going to list just some random weeb shit I've enjoyed over the last year, because I think that's part of the balance of the force.
Oh, yeah, you do that. I'll also talk about, like, a fun weeb thing.
Excellent. I caught up with the rest of the world, and I finally watched Promare. It is very much Studio Trigger playing the hits, but there are some acts where that's what you go for. I don't know. Kind of an AC/DC in concert sort of dynamic. Very fun film.
Yeah, like meat and potatoes, but like, man, is it good meat and good potatoes?
Exactly. It's like flying all the way to Ireland and just finding the first cow-based dish you can tackle and grab from someone. Promare is a really good time for that. I rewatched Sword of the Stranger because it's there and it's rewatchable, and it's still just an endorphin factor.
Yeah, I imagine it holds up.
Very strongly. No Name has a fun arc in that.
Oh, we did that on this show, didn't we? Yeah.
We did do it on the show. It was a good time. I really enjoy. I mean, I'm a big martial arts fanboy in general. I'm kind of fascinated by the micro-genre of highly competent, obsessive animated martial arts films as well.
Yeah, I never thought about that, but there's more than 2 or 3 of them, aren't there?
Yeah, it's kind of a scene. I don't know, it goes all the way down to Death Frenzy or some shit. Yeah. It has a high hit rate. I think it's one of those things where if you bother to do it, you're probably somewhere on the spectrum of, like, ability or love. It comes through in these things.
It's a fun thing to be a nerd about, certainly.
Yeah. What else? Oh, so while the English status of this isn't as legal as you would want it to be, there are ways to support the product. I don't know, watch the anime, which is not that good, but Kingdom, the manga, has been great. And you know what? Once you are done legitimately reading Kingdom the manga, you can log on to your compatible streamer of choice and just leave the anime or movie that I am currently not recommending on in the background so that they get their numbers up. And you will be on a net positive balance.
I have said to you the same things about Kingdom that I've also said to you. Actually, not even you, just to everyone. Just to whoever told me to read it, watch it, whatever, about One Piece, which is... yeah, I know. Once I do it, I'm gonna fucking love it, and it's gonna be great, and I'm, like, not gonna be able to shut the fuck up. But, like, man, that's so many chapters. That's so many chapters.
Do you know who that vindicates?
Who does that vindicate?
Every English teacher that puts Moby Dick in the fucking summer reading slot.
Moby Dick is one of my favorite novels of all time. No,
it's
fucking
great.
Melville's
it's great.
Melville is a fucking G.
No, it is so good, and you are not doing that shit on your own in the first 25 years of your life.
If you are a college student, perfect time for you to enroll in a class sometime, during your tenure at whatever school. look at the syllabus. If they are reading Moby Dick, it is have some help here. Have some help. You'll enjoy it more. You'll be able to appreciate it because it took me until I had like a really good lit professor walking me through it.
Ultimately, even if you think you're already a schmott guy, a good lit professor is useful the way that a really burly, loud personal trainer is. It's just someone saying, do it, fucking do it.
Yeah, I have more respect for teachers than like pretty much almost any other profession. They just like the ways in which they can unlock things for you. It's awesome. All sorts of props to you, Lee. There's almost no chance that you were listening, but but he was my favorite lit professor in undergrad.
He is a pretty high power teacher if he knows this existed. Like if his tabs are that good,
I'd be impressed.
I'm still patting myself on the back for just writing fucking recommendation letters fresh each time. I did some teaching stuff during the time skip. Wow, 2 years, fucking wild. Okay.
Stuff happens. I'm not going to talk about some of the stuff that happened in my realm during the time skip, but that's okay.
We call that a mixed review of a slot of time. You know what I don't have a fucking mixed review of? The Ninja War.
Like I knew it by reputation. I knew that this was going to be a slog. I knew that this was going to be padding. I knew that it was going to be arbitrary. I knew that I wasn't going to give a shit. Maybe it's on me, right? Maybe some of it has to do with the fact that I read, the first, what was it, like 25-ish chapters earlier this week, and then read the other 40-something chapters last night, and just the experience of having to just mainline that shit for from 5 p.m. until 1 a.m. But I hated this so much. I fucking hated this. I'm so angry.
There is an alternate universe where you did all 70 yesterday, and I think you would have just come in having invented a slur for ninjas.
For the sake of just good material, I almost kind of wish that I had, but also in a very no, I don't. Not even a little bit. I think I'd rather be dead. I think I'd already rather be dead.
I think that minds, these are all parts of your body, and your body has a bump card, a certain number of injuries that you can take, and I think that your mind has a certain number of concentrated Ninja War sprints that it could fucking take. There is a point where, in the middle of this endlessly depicted warfare, in the middle of all of this shit happening at once, with none of it getting the time it would need to be good, even though the foundation isn't there for it to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And I will explain each of these elements, but I want to just get at this real core problem here. Where Kish zooms overhead.
Oh yeah,
the fucking Kessin map. And no, I'm saying Kessin. I'm not saying like a simple Dynasty Warriors map. I'm not saying an involved Total War map. No, on a specific strategy game ship metaphor here, it is Kessin, where it tells you very little, but it takes up a lot of time. And it is throwing this whole wall of text. And when you do a wall of text, it's presumed that there's either content, style, or some form of intellectual fucking engagement. Instead of... It's a bit like how people describe the Silmarillion as some kind of shit history textbook, only this actually is doing that for 10 pages. And I need you to remember that this is a shonen battle manga.
Yes.
Where people make speeches about friendship.
I wouldn't even mind it. If all their narrating about tactics and shit had anything to do with what was actually going on, like, on the ground in the events of the manga itself, then maybe I'd care. Maybe it wouldn't anger me the way that it did. But I watched Shikamaru's dad just drone on and fucking on about troop movements, and I couldn't possibly... And then you get to what's actually happening, and it doesn't fucking matter because it's just down to like two guys just talking at one another again.
Yep.
Don't fucking do this to me, Keish. Don't bullshit me. Like, please, can we fucking keep it 100 here? Because I don't... I know that none of the shit going on in the war room actually matters to what is going on just anywhere else. It is basically,
once again, the biggest starter on either fucking side is what settles this. We go through all of this tactical bullshit to say, hey, Jesus is here. Everything that mattered beforehand doesn't fucking matter. Then Madara shows up, and I'll talk about Madara. But it's like, oh, Satan is here.
oh, I will
Fuck
also
everything
talk about
that
Madara.
happened before this. Yeah. To root this a little, I want to talk about the basic problem for me. I mean, you might have a different basic problem throughout a lot of this Ninja War shit that comes out. When it comes to game design, and I know I am the king of metaphors bouncing in every direction, but I think for once this is actually a pretty salient one. Game designers love to talk about scope creep, which is sort of the point where the features you are throwing onto something are detracting from the main idea. And actually think about the good and bad parts of Naruto we've had up to this point, right?
Yeah.
Our little ninja journey.
Mm-hmm.
The things that it delivers on, or at least focuses on, you know, depending on your review or whatever, are pretty simple. Basically just action, fantasy stunts, emotional catharsis, slick designs. I would call that like the Naruto experience on a good day, right?
On the best days, yeah.
Do you know where troop diagrams fit into that chart? Because I fucking don't.
God, yeah, you might have to explain it to me, because at first blush, I would imagine that they don't. That they just fucking don't, Dennard.
But you might say, well, who are you to tell Kishimoto what his creative objective should be? Okay, sure. Then let's go on an even simpler level of scope creep. Let's just talk about the amount of crap happening at once. This thing is dense. I listened to Meshuggah, and I was just thinking, hey, what if we slow down a little here? Did some 4 chords in the truth kind of shit?
This thing happened to me where this dawning horror, I guess, as we finished up the bits where, you know, Naruto meets his mom, which, you know, to start out with a compliment, that was well done. You know, it was pretty well done. The flashback to Minato and Toby fight, it was pretty over the plate. It was a good fight. It's like probably a good idea.
Just cracking out a double.
Yeah, it's a good idea to have Minato have died, you know, just powering the ceiling jutsu instead of like jobbing to Toby. That would have fucked up his credibility. He would have been remembered as kind of a fucking punk, like an overhyped punk, if he had jobbed to Toby.
Oh my god, back in my fucking WWE days and remembering the worst of the, well, you know, Vince McMahon's sex crimes and all that too, but the worst of the Roman shit.
Mm-hmm.
With half the plot turns, I just keep thinking we gotta feed him to Toby. we gotta keep Toby looking strong. And I'm not sure why, because we're going to replace him with Triple Edgeman, but I'm stepping on your point here.
A light bulb went out, and I'm like, oh god, I get it now. I understand what I'm about to experience. I'm about to watch a giant fucking arc. Like, a fucking Wano Kuni-sized arc full of a bunch of random guys fighting another bunch of random guys. Like, this is a fucking Magic the Gathering tournament. None of it is going to feel narratively satisfying because it's just here to fill space. And they're going to need to switch between groups of random guys just too quickly to let it be fun. And I wanted to be optimistic and think, oh, you know, like if they're putting members of the cast together, you know, in all these like little squads or whatever, that members of the cast who've not interacted with one another up to now, maybe they could find fun dynamics. And that was the hope, at least.
The hope is there. There's a point where they speed audition basically different, I don't know, comedy bits, comedy shticks, comedy gimmicks against each other for a second, and you think this might be about characters and interactions.
But mostly it's still about people trash-talking one another's builds.
Okay, so since we're establishing context, I get to talk about my favorite thing in fiction.
Which is?
The Edo Tensei is fucking historic. For those of you at home who didn't just read 70 chapters of Naruto in a row and can't feel your brainstem anymore, the Edo Tensei is a simple concept. It's a spell. At this point, the jutsu's like spells, right? Yeah, whatever. It's a spell. It's a magic. It's a jutsu. It's a technique that brings back dead characters with resolved arcs or no arcs or abandoned arcs back into the present to make a shittier story. I have never seen this shit. It is like I'm watching the Apollo 13 skip the moon to head into the fucking sun.
Remember when we watched Big Order and at the end of like the first episode, just all of these dickhead character designs just showed up, and I'm like, oh fuck you.
Yep.
Oh, I'm about to have to hear about every single one of these assholes, aren't I? That is what keeps on happening, like every 6 chapters or so during this arc. Just it's another fucking dozen new assholes.
And as the sprint of the Edo Tensei stuff comes up, this probably happened in a different order, but I'm going to talk about how it felt.
Mm-hmm.
But I look down at this, and Zabuza's alive again. I'm like, oh, wow. His death was the most satisfying part of his character. Cool. Good job. And then he's next to a new person who looks like a mummy, and he quips, and I hate him.
Who's... Is that like...
He has the fucking particle jutsu.
He's the previous Stone Village guy. Right, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And I'm looking at this old good death and this new who gives a shit thing. I think, Jesus, how could this annoy the piss out of me any more than it is right now? And then fucking Sasori and Deidara's ass.
Like, oh, it's just fucking Heckle and Jekyll. Great.
Fucking incredible. It's like... We needed to bring back the Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel of fucking Akatsuki.
Halfway through this, they published a character poll, and I was laid flat on my ass to discover that Deidara and Sasori are in the top 10. I don't understand people, I guess, because I don't know, did Sasori have a personality? To me, he was just like the puppet guy that Konkuro's puppet girlfriend told him not to puppet worry about. That's kind of the extent of his thing. And then Deidara, go back 2 episodes and you'll hear me talk about how much I loved Deidara. I don't understand this world and these people.
I can give you once again in the dual boot of my brain.
I am Dr. Manhattan on Mars today.
I could give you a good faith reading and a bad faith reading of that situation.
Let's do good faith because I get self-conscious about bad faith. I hate cinema sins so fucking much.
I understand where you're coming from. Good faith kind of reading is, I think first off, the puppet thing or action-wise is probably just one of the more original things kicking in this comic.
Yeah.
Back to front, it just looks different. He has fun drawing it. It's interesting within the system. It automatically is free from jabber about the elements.
That's a good point, because I think the more grokkable is not a specific enough word. The more
intuitive
/ tied to a noun. The more tied to an actual thing that's easy to understand. Like fucking he's named after the battleship. Yamato. His whole thing, his gimmick, plants. Just plants. Plants. There. Done. Easy. The easiest thing to understand. Gaara. Sand. Konkuro, puppets. They
Kisame, Shark Chad.
Fucking love Kisame. My dude got out at the exact right time.
We should give that his own fucking chunk. So I think the puppet thing is pretty tangible. Another thing is, as an experiment, explosions are fun to draw. Put your thumb over everything that Sasuke or Deidara says, and Kishimoto does get to have some just action blocking fun of these goofily drawn statues that explode.
That is... Yes. Yeah, I can agree to that, yeah.
That is ground that Action Comic can enjoy. Alright, I'm gonna be a fucking dick now. So these are both basically edgy, quipping, Bishy Sparkle guys, and people just love that shit. They eat that shit up like it's fucking... Just really, McDonald's and a mistreated child is the relationship of the general manga-consuming public and that frame. So when you stitched that to a confident action gimmick, they were gonna live on that fucking pole.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm here, and I'm staring at Deidara. Somehow Deidara returned.
Somehow Data returned.
We talk a lot about this thing Isekai does, where it makes you care less about what's happening with diegetic game elements. And this finds kind of a fascinating, ahead of its time formalist thing with that, because it's not game elements. I'm not gonna try to bad faith that.
Oh, isn't
But
it?
the game tone of people talking about how to fight my build in this detached voice, because the jutsu makes them do this, but it doesn't make them give a shit, and having the people you are fighting to the death and not give a shit, and be like throwing you pro tips on, I don't know, have you tried lightning style jutsu or whatever? It pulls me out of it. If firefighters had something that could take someone out of a building the way that that takes me out of these fights, we would save thousands of lives every year. It would be a miracle.
I hadn't thought about it like that. I was trying to decide if I thought it was funny or not. Because sometimes, I don't know, he kind of plays it for drama in some cases, and he plays it for comedy in other places. And I'm never going to take it seriously. Like, the drama, like, if he plays it for drama, it's just not gonna hit. Like, sorry, Quiche. No, it's not.
Oh,
but I
did
might
the
laugh.
collection of completed or non-existent character arcs not root you?
For sure. Yeah, it's
Do you remember how long we spent fighting fucking clam motherfucker?
that was the one that I almost found tolerable. A, because it was so late in this span of chapters that we'll get to the state that I was in at that point. But that was the one that I almost was like, they made it kind of fun, I guess. I almost appreciated them throwing me a bone by having, Clam Guy be kind of a clown. That was, I don't know. I was looking for some reason to enjoy any of this at this point.
That is totally fair, honestly. He does bring a little bit of color personality-wise. I suspect the length of his thing is partially due to that popularity poll type of addiction.
That's actually a really, really good point, is that Clam Guy is, I think he was a Mizukage, but there's already a Mizukage. I'm not numbering them. Like, fuck this isn't a fucking Roman history class. They didn't actually start having numbers until, like, way later. This isn't a German history class. There we go. Monarchs. He's Clam Guy with the haircut.
Yeah, he's fashionable. He rates people's fashion. He's about as attached to this as we are, which
yeah, he seems to not
respect.
really give that much of a shit. It's like, it's pretty great, honestly.
Yeah. I made this point about the pencil, about the pro wrestling shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make it here with the Edo Tensei thing, which is less cool.
Yes.
Kishimoto is a confident person who can explain things with art or a quick sentence. Afterwards, either he or an editor limps back to the concept and you get 3 pages describing it in just genital shrinking detail.
It's astounding.
And the Edo Tensei thing, a guy claps his magic hands, slaps the ground, coffins come up, and talking dead people come out. And you get it. You get it. You don't need 10 chapters of Kabuto talking about zombie mitochondria.
I didn't have notes about Kabuto. I didn't make notes about Kabuto, but I kind of want to talk about Kabuto for a second, because it's like, I always come back to pro wrestling when talking about shonen fighting manga, because they're so goddamn similar. A lot of it is like the power scaling thing, but I'm thinking sort of just in terms of like heel work, right? What is the point, right, where you hate this fucking character, and it's not because it can be claimed, right, that, oh, yeah, of course you hate them. That's the author doing its job. And it's like, no, really what I hate is the author for making me sit through this guy.
So we've got the whole X-Pac frontier with fucking Kabuto.
Yeah, I fucking hate you, Kabuto.
So personality is important, right?
Mm-hmm.
The little aesthetics, the little cues. And this is going to be the worst sentence I've ever said on this podcast.
Really?
But no, it's not. Not even like top 3. But Kabuto is essentially Orochimaru without the pedo shit. And Orochimaru without the pedo shit is a worse character.
No. I absolutely fucking agree.
Like, the entire tension around him is you look at him and go, ew.
Is he gonna fuck some kids? Is he gonna fuck kids?
Oh shit, Naruto, you need to get over there and stop Orochimaru from touching that
before
kid.
he fucks those kids. And Kabuto's just sitting there talking about how he's like gonna win and how smart he is, and I just fuck off.
It's actually a great lesson in terms of what makes people care about a conflict. Because ultimately, I don't care about Kabuto or Orochimaru's attempt to conquer the world. I really care that he's trying to touch these kids. So yeah, Kabuto is a big nothing. If you want a more intellectual version of that, he is a empty cover of a song we've already heard.
He's also probably the best example of a bad example. So you remember how we were talking yesterday or whenever it happened to be about how Naruto basically has 3 villain archetypes. Like there's Chad, which is lamentably the rarest of the 3.
Your Kasames, if you will.
Your Kasames, your Zabuzas, I'd argue. There's Allahu Akbar, and then there's Smug Rodent, and I think Kabuto is kind of the king of the smug rodents.
He is, ironically enough, given his understudy role. If you tried to grow a smug rodent in a lab, they would act, look, and be as popular as fucking Kabuto.
As Kabuto, yeah. Who's like the best insane person of the second
the priest.
archetype?
The priest. The literal priest.
Which one was the little priest?
He was the one that Shikamaru fought in that sort of JoJo-y brain fight.
Oh god, when the hell was that? Was he the Akatsuki guy with like the weird axe?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The scythe-looking guy. Yep. I know who you're talking about. God,
he was a good time. He was a good time.
On the stronger side of the, yeah. And then there's... Okay, speaking of smug rodents. I have just some stuff about Toby.
Toby is rapidly... I think when we discussed characters that ruin something, my offline answer, maybe it's God in the episode, but my offline answer was Sheev. Not the Emperor, not even Cancer Palpatine. The all-caps meme entity known as Sheev. In terms of making things worse. Toby is really sprinting up that Sheev tier list for me.
My god, I remember we kind of ended last episode talking about how Sasuke was the guy. Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's what you're referring to. Man, there were 2.
There were 2. There was a stylistic one, and then there was a real narratively entrenched one.
I want to get into that a little bit. Can I,
You absolutely can.
Yeah, let me take a minute here. So let's say it's true that Toby, as he claims, was behind the scenes with Pain and the Akatsuki and like the Rinnegan the whole time, which
Jesus fucking Christ.
Jesus, I don't actually trust that. I don't trust that is the case for a couple of reasons, both diegetic and non-diegetic, but for the sake of arguments, sure. It was me, Barry. It was me the whole time. And I know that, like, in universe, yes, it is true. Bullshit anyway, but regardless. First, real quick, this is like when Roman emperors would come to power and reveal, just suddenly reveal, oh,
the limitless crimes of my predecessor.
No, just like this entire time is like, oh, my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was in fact Aeneas. Sorry for not telling you until now.
I was waiting for Toby to say that he was Shukaku the whole time.
That was the raccoon, right?
That was just a giant raccoon. I was a giant raccoon monster the whole time. In fact, I was Orochimaru. I was the one who was trying to touch those kids.
It was me, Barry. It's just doing that to lend your villain who you have like basically just given the title to, not in an unearned way, to lend them legitimacy by basically just having them say, like, oh, also I was behind all of this. No. That's so cheap. It's so transparent. Don't do it. That's just like, if you're a writer, don't ever do that.
There's a weirdly insecure thing about it too. Like there seems to be this tension with these main villains where Kish keeps saying, do they think this guy is cool yet? Do they know he's tough? And I don't know the problem because it's already been established that Toby can phase through fucking reality. I think I can believe he could win a dust-up because he doesn't exist in fucking reality.
If you got laurels that the character can rest on, then just fucking rest on. I don't know. It's like, and I'm just thinking about just basic plotting here too. It's just like, if you can't foreshadow something, if you cannot foreshadow that, yeah, you can write a plot point. You could have it be that a character was behind everything the entire time, but you do kind of need to plan that in advance so you can seed it throughout, the story. And if you can't do that, then your go-to for a good twist is going to be like having a character change their mind about something important because of whatever just happened to them, and it alters the status quo in a drastic way, right? Do that instead. Just have a thing happen, and then have a character who was one way become another way because of that. And then it's there, done.
Could I slap a footnote onto that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because what you're saying is very important in terms of the actual logic coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something a little bit more important than the logic edit is when you build these twists, and I'm going to run on the good faith assumption, because I don't know, I like Kaiser Soze and all that shit. So I'm just going to assume that there is a universe where all this shit works, right?
There is a universe where all this shit works.
So when you build these twists, I think one of the most important things is just that the point where the revision of reality takes us to is more interesting or engaging than where we started. I think that is kind of essential to it. And the world where Toby handed fucking Nagato and Yahiko pamphlets called Villainy and You, instead of all of that character-driven shit that people are into, is much less interesting.
Worse.
It is actually, to me, kind of remarkably worse. Like, I don't know how you could undermine more of what has worked in this comic at length, by the way. You could say even at ponderous length. In fact, at such ponderous length, it's kind of questionable that we didn't just see him hanging from the ceiling going, yes, yes!
The thing that boggles my mind is that it doesn't actually even, like, you could skip the scene where he said it was him the entire time, Barry, because it doesn't actually really change anything going forward, and it just makes what happened before retroactively worse. What does it matter? What does it matter that he was behind everything the entire time? What does that do? What impact does that have on what he's doing? Even if there is something that I missed somewhere, I don't really think it's enough, and I think that you could cut it out and everything could progress basically unaltered, and also you didn't just retroactively ruin, what was a pretty good couple of character arcs back there.
So you're talking about Heat before, right?
Yeah.
And the only motive is to get Heat. And it kind of brings me back to that insecurity thing, because the idea is, I had this scheme, and now as part of my plan, I need to dig up the corpse of this character you like and scoop his eyes out with a melon baller. Do you think that it's not enough to say, well, time to take my old friends and scoop their eyes out with melon ballers? Do you think I was going to say, oh, what a pleasant and normal thing to do? You seem like a good dude. My favorite, in fact.
I don't even know if Heat was the point. I think it was to make him look cool. I don't know. There's this thing with Naruto and its villains. I'll get to that later, but I have thoughts about that. I don't necessarily have conclusions, but I have thoughts, and I've written some of them down.
I'm really good for a good arbitrary conclusion, so we can balance this ticket. For
sure. But in the meantime, so Toby, right? Toby's behind all this. And bear with me here, right? This is, I think we've talked about the whole but therefore thing on this show before.
Oh yeah,
I feel like
for those of you who aren't familiar with it, rapid summary, the South Park guys had this famous little presentation where basically they said when you diagram out a good plot, you can often see that a good plot has a lot of buts and therefores between events, and a lot of bad plots have and thens. Yeah,
it's like the bomb under the table exploded, but Alfred and Vivian jumped to safety. the car bomb meant for Michael kills Apollonia, therefore any desire he had left to leave this all behind dies with her, as opposed to Cora gets her ass kicked, and then she gets her ass kicked by someone else.
Cora is never outliving the fucking... We have dogs chasing that fucking cartoon through the forest. And every year, we come back with fresh dogs. We are rotating hunting dogs at this point.
It's like, there are worse shows out there that I could be bullying instead, but like, I don't know,
There's something about caring more.
It was so personal.
Yeah.
It was so personal to me. Toby's saying that it was him the entire time, Barry. It is a and then disguised as a but. Like I was saying, nothing going forward changes. If he hadn't said that, things would have progressed basically identically. Third impact, just second verse, same as the first, whatever. It's not actually a twist. It is
the untwist.
It is, in fact, an untwist. It's just a retcon.
It is very bewildering to me. So much so to the extent, I didn't even really blink when Itachi's whatever thing played out, because at least there were scenes in the past about it.
Oh yeah, we still have kind of a difference of opinion on that. I still think that he changed his mind and added that shit back in a little bit, or that Kish decided actually Itachi was a good guy the whole time. I do think that was a decision he made way the fuck later on, but that's not even a hill that I'm willing to die on anymore. Like, this is so fucking bad, I don't care. Sure, maybe he did plan to have Itachi be this, secret good guy the whole time. Sure.
I think...
Yeah, maybe he did. I don't care.
Our appreciation here is that I think bad plans exist. I think it is very possible to write down a bad idea, work toward it for 300 chapters, and execute.
And execute it.
I think life
poorly.
is like that sometimes.
You could be right. Maybe he could get credit for thinking ahead, but does not get credit for the quality of that thought.
Sometimes an emperor dumps the totality of the resources in their empire into a big wall to keep horse archers out, and then learns that people can climb. It's just one of those things.
Yeah. All right, do we want to go back to, the ninja faction from Heroes of Might and Magic 3 here?
I think as a break from my sanity, I'm going to talk about that thing in the first 10 chapters or so, which is just...
Oh, sure, yeah.
Basically,
the
Guy
good
versus
part.
Kisame.
Yeah, that was... Can I talk about Guy for, 2 seconds?
Yeah.
I love the idea that half of, or at least, a plurality of the sparring contest or matches or fights or whatever that Guy claims, that he and Kakashi have had over the years, and that he's won a couple more than Kakashi. I do really love the idea that some of them were shit just like rock, paper, scissors, or fantasy football or something.
That is highly entertaining, nice and humanizing. I do enjoy that.
That was fun. Go ahead.
Alright, so this fight is fun. It's just a focused, sort of circumstantial 1v1, which is the kind of thing that's going to die on the vine in the middle of this ninja fucking war, by the way. There's sort of a 3-on-1, but the other two guys are, the Dragon Ball thing, pointing while Guy does the heavy lifting.
Yeah, that's gonna happen literally wherever the fuck you go, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not, and if you don't like it, then, I don't know, that's shonen, baby.
Yeah, there's a point where if I pick up a comic called Lord of the Puck, and there's a guy sort of holding his hockey stick like a Zweihander, I know what I'm into for some extent,
Speedwagon's DNA is in every single fucking one of these things.
So yeah, Guy's doing this fight with 2 Speedwagons.
Yeah.
This whole fight is framed around the idea that Kisame is just trying to get this information to his superiors because I shouldn't say new. The aging and dying but clinging to life generation really loves the phrase read the assignment. And Kisame just consistently has read the assignment. He says, "Oh, I'm a ninja."
Why the fuck would you say that? I don't... That's us. That's us. That's a millennial catchphrase. I'm not dying.
You're right, Sam. You're right. We're all gonna live forever. I can feel my shoulder improving with every year. I can feel my hairline thriving, these rich locks.
I'm not sitting here with a pain patch because I just slept wrong, I guess. There's a wrong way to sleep.
That's just something that happens, your body just doesn't like to be on the left instead of the right. Or the other way around. It's sort of a coin flip sometimes. It changes even.
Okay, go ahead. I'm done. Go ahead.
So yeah, once again, the geriatrics like to say that someone read the assignment, and Kisame, his shark gimmick is just tangible and fun. If you never read this, I mean, okay, essentially everyone has a gimmick, but his is just, honestly, just kind of fun to draw.
I argue that Kisame is kind of just slumming it in this comic. Like, did you see the Dungeons and Dragons movie from like a year or two ago?
I did not get a chance to see it, but wasn't Michelle Rodriguez in the fucking cast?
Oh, okay, she was. There's something even more, like, an example of this, I guess, where halfway through the movie, they went, like, everyone goes and they visit a very, very much unadvertised halfling Bradley Cooper for a scene, and then they dip. And it's just like, oh wow, that's halfling Bradley Cooper for some reason. He's here. That's Kisame. He's like this A-lister who took the role for Peanuts because he got to be Guts but Sharky. And I don't have enough good things to say about this guy. He's easily the best bad guy in Naruto.
He even has one of the best edge gimmicks.
Yes. He was like the one time it works.
Yeah, he was the intel guy when he was in his village who was just asked to off people when it was time to, get a little silence going, like a ninja.
The companion killer.
The companion killer. The fucking pose of that.
That was, I think, my favorite panel of this stretch of chapters.
Yeah, and he has betrayal stabbed his way up the hierarchy there.
It's so fucking great.
So
I love this man.
That happens, and aside from him just being a good ingredient in all of this, it's also, again, just more focused. You learn about people in a way that matters and has a good pace, and life and death has grounding and consequences.
Mm-hmm.
He offs himself in a visually interesting way, which sounds like something that I should have put some kind of disclaimer around, but it's
sharks.
Yeah, he shovels a ball of sharks so that he can't give up more intel.
It's fun. It's silly and it's fun.
His surface level gimmick is sharks, and his underlying gimmick is CIA.
Like I was saying about kind of tangible or based in like one pretty, like nouny concept, just sharks, wood, puppets, what have you. The more tied to just something that you could just very easily get your head around like that, the better in Naruto, I have found.
Yeah, it's well tagged. It's good to see a character grow, and in this case, character development is a t-shirt underneath his armor that says, "Stop snitching."
Kasame is the kind of guy who, he doesn't kill people, he puts them on a fucking shirt.
I do enjoy his little conversation with Itachi, where Itachi's sitting on this pier, expecting to be taken seriously with all his edge shit. And Sharkman walks up and says, "You're not a snitch, right?" I've got a few rules.
What a fucking Chad. I love him.
So then there's Guy's half of this.
Yeah.
The benefit of Guy and Rock Lee, and the half of the day where Kish decide that Sasuke is a taijutsu guy before getting back to Iwank, is that he can draw punching and kicking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's nice to look at. It's blocked in a way that makes sense. He can do a whole wordless stretch of it. That might be the most important thing, by the way.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you need to be good at if you were a shonen fighting manga author, mangaka, whatever, is you need to be good at the big panel of someone punching another dude, and it's like a big moment. And Kish, yeah, he's good at that. Like, most of the best little moments from Naruto are someone just connecting with another dude's jaw in a really, like, cool, surprising, and kind of satisfying way.
I think that's one reason that Bone Dude versus Lee and Gaara so well remembered. It's for all the science, like, it kind of just comes down to a very mopey man mumbling the lyrics to Nuck If You Buck.
From a power scaling perspective, I did not love how that fight ended, but everything up to it, yeah, I agree.
Oh, yeah. Suffered a bit of the weekly SmackDown fuck finish kind of thing.
It's like, why? Like, why was it so important? Why is it so important that, like, this dude who's gonna die anyway is so high on the power scale? Like, why can't you just, like, have Garo, like, win clean on
He's
this
visiting
one?
from
What's with the fucking dusty
NJPW.
finish
We
here?
got politics to take care of here.
You have to have him, like, win, except he can't quite win because his fucking bonitis kills him right before. Sorry, I bet if I went back, I would discover that I've already made that joke.
It really builds itself.
It's right there. It's just like they served it to me on a fucking platter.
I have something that, compared to my Ninja War stuff, it's really more of an observation than a complaint with Guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I have not seen, in terms of screen time theft, a bigger example of mentor abuse outside of the Vatican. Like, every moment that Lee would have had in this fucking comic,
it belongs to Guy instead.
it belongs to Guy. And that's real rough, buddy.
Wasn't Lee popular? Like, I'm trying to think about this from a non-diegetic perspective. Like, why would he do that? You know, the first reason I can think of is like, well, because people like Guy more than Lee. Do they? I don't know.
I do not know who was liked more. I imagine Lee has a bit of a out-the-gate advantage from those little early arts he was rooted in. There is this odd underlying value. A version of this infects Bleach, only it's more about rank or something, but
Mm-hmm.
the sort of screen time and default weight and priority shift to sort of these elder generation people that just edges out these people that we're introduced to early and we're sort of invested in building them along. It is really weird, but it's attached to the psychology of this comic in a way, and
Isn't that honestly kind of running counter to the whole psychology of the comic? Isn't it running counter to the whole...
Textually, yeah, like in terms of what it's supposed to be about, like, you know, inheriting yada yada, but figures like, you have your guys, you have your Raikages, you have even Toby Madara kinda Jack Sasuke's thing. There's something very Reagan-y about relevance trickling upwards in age and rank in Naruto.
Yeah, especially because they keep talking about how, you know, the older generation needs to step aside to let the younger generation do its thing and make its mistakes and, you know, like, you know, deal with, you know, what was left to them. They do that whole song and dance, and then the original however many, you know, Konoha, Ninja, you know, your Kiba, you know, those guys, they kind of just get less and less screen time as the thing goes on. I was honestly
Exactly.
it was refreshing when, what was it? It was like, Choji Shino, no, not Choji and Shino, Choji Ino and Shikamaru get that fight with their old captain.
That is probably emotionally, plot-wise, etc., just one of the better zombie fights, because it is an actual direct passing of the torch kind of thing.
Yeah, it's so much better than the one with the brothers. I didn't care about anyone in that fight.
It's hard to convey frustrated, stunned silence on a podcast, because normally you see the guy's face. But as he brought in...
That went on for a while, too.
The Silver and Gold brothers. If Kishimoto had brought the comic to a grinding halt and just drawn a slice of life thing about his day, interacting with his family, friends, what his part of town is like, I would have been more locked in. I think I would have known more about the world of Naruto after that than I got from the fight with the Silver and Gold brothers. The one thing I will give it, for all the bullshit time we spend on this mini game about the word you say the most, which I hate on at least 4 different levels that I'm not going to poison this podcast with, but what I will give it is he saw the writing on the wall of, oh shit, how do I get fox juice in this wood thing without tanking Naruto's credibility to force the plot along? And just saying there are 2 fox chakra guys running around, they're disposable, they could take a pin. That element of them is fine. Making them interesting in and of themselves is not something we achieved here.
No, I was just waiting for them to die. I barely even caught on to the Fox Chakra thing. They did that, and I was like, why are they? Oh wait, no, I don't care. At that point, I was like, all right, man, this. How many more chapters of this? Come on, like.
As I'm digging up good things because I like to balance the ticket,
For sure.
something that's very hard to notice because it's surrounded by shit is that the wood statue thing looks kind of cool. It's an action comic. The designs matter. You spend a lot of time looking at these things. I like the way his weird wood monster looks.
Oh, that's yeah. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Something like a little bit berserky about it.
I think what I like about it is that it looks a little off book of the comic's default style, but it is an otherworldly thing, so it kind of works.
Yeah, that's like the thing that Toby summons like halfway through one of these fights, right?
Sort of. It's back at the base. Toby's standing on
Yeah.
it. I have a fucking Gundam!
Okay, yes, we were thinking about the same thing here.
Yeah. Toby's Gundam. Toby's Gundam's more fun than fucking Toby.
Everything's more fun than fucking Toby.
Do you know what I don't really understand spending screen time on? It goes back to the grinder explanation thing. He has this army of spore monsters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who we haven't seen in action yet. And Kabuto's whole pitch is, I can make your spore monster army stronger. And look, I know there's in-universe logic behind that. That's not what I'm questioning. Again, narratives are partially about the experience, how things feel. We haven't seen the spore monsters do shit. Why do I care if they get a power-up or not? I don't have, like, a baseline thing. Like, they haven't been the putty patrol until now.
Yeah, have we really seen them do much? I think we've seen... I don't know. I can't say for sure, because some of this is done in a way where there's so many fucking words, and I missed shit, and but I'm pretty sure that once or twice, someone has ended up, in fact, being a spore monster doppelganger or something. And so, like, you thought that you won, but no, it was a spore doppelganger. It was a doom. I don't know.
The way that the main Edo Tensei action detaches you, from the action. I think I used Star Maker last time for this kind of thing. I'm going to go on a different tile.
Okay.
Sort of the breakout metal act of the last decade was basically Mastodon, right? Like, they and Gojira sort of raced for that little ticket.
Yeah.
And their big hit was just about Rasputin detaching from his body and going through time and space. And I'm hearing all of those lyrics as I read that stretch in the middle where all the fucking zombies come out to have their dense, deeply explained, plotless battles.
This arc did in fact crack the sky, I agree. That's good timing. I'm glad you mentioned that, because... So it's bad form, and it's fallacious to use the royal you, your deeply subjective emotional reaction as proof of some objective fact, like, this is boring because it bored me, or this is good because I like it. I think that's begging the question. I don't know, I don't have my fallacies completely straight.
Some form of wrong, whatever.
It's some form of circular logic or another. I watch the pages just populate themselves with these fucking zombies and just all these over-designed characters who I know are going to take like a dozen or more chapters to get rid of. And then there's going to be like 6 more of them that show up before they're even dead. And then just text walls from Shikamaru's dad about fucking tactics. And we've been over that. They don't matter. And I just want to fucking die. And does this serve as adequate proof that this is awful? No, probably not, because, again, this is just my reaction, but it does serve as proof that I want to fucking die.
If I were to talk about the goals of media, the goals of entertainment, I would say a primary one is to not make the reader feel like they want to die, unless you're doing like a Boys Abyss or fucking Mid-Monster kind of thing. Maybe you want to feel like they want to die for a second, just to really twist the knife in. But I don't know if that's the goal of Ninja Jesus and Friends.
It can make you want to die insofar as, like, yeah, this is a safe place. This is fiction, right? And so it's a safe place to, like, think about or talk about or, like, just discuss play around with like really, really fucked up, parts of the human experience and, get you thinking about it. And, it's okay because it's not real. Not like this, man.
Man, you know what? I didn't come to Ninja World to fucking think about the fucking dynamics of real world racial representation, because I talked a little about this last time, but I can't wrap my fucking head around it. If everyone from fucking Lightning Land was a blaxploitation extra, I would almost understand.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone else from that place is like a fucking human being. They're written like a character. And then Killer Bee's ass comes out, rapping out the gate. Literally rapping it. I need you guys to understand, when it comes to... You can make an argument about modern sensitivity or whatever. Actually, if you make an argument about modern sensitivity, you're probably kind of a jackhole.
Yeah, usually that's your first clue. There's
a really strong chance that you're a jackhole. But in terms of wherever I am on the ribald to sensitivity kind of spectrum, 40 minutes ago, I was screaming the words, "Touch them kids." That's where I'm at, right?
Yes.
And B isn't just a crow from Dumbo. He's a crow from Dumbo next to 12 normal crows. So you don't know why the fucking crow from Dumbo is here. It's worse because I don't even think he's like a deep tissue racist. This is just in here. He just thought it was a good idea for some fucking reason. Like, I basically think you are twice the hack and half the racist because of this. I look at these normal crows and all of the other lightning people who range from... I think Raikage is just straightforwardly like a good bad person character. He's like a good character.
Well, until he gets fucking sanded down because there's no room for him anymore after a time.
Everyone sucks at a Ninja War.
Yeah, he just like, if there is anything to him, it's just gone after his fight with Naruto.
But the Raikage, at least in the Gokage Summit, is working for me.
Yeah.
His other people range from boring to boring, but not like offensively, but just the way that everyone is boring in the fucking Ninja War, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just staring at B, who, if I were to defend it, he's kind of doomed in English because he has a translated rap gimmick.
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that we were reading this and that we were not watching this dubbed.
I kind of wonder, just because Kishimoto is a full-time writer, and has been for years, decades at this point, do you think that there's some fucking Most Def meets Lupe Fiasco lyricism hiding in the Japanese version of this character that we're just not getting?
No. No, I don't think that for even a second.
I want to dream. It feels good to dream.
I'm sure it does, but it's a stupid dream.
Well, I'm glad that we could let that stupid dream die on the fucking vine. I guess I should contextualize this because some of you, actually most of you probably are not reading Naruto in this podcast. Why would you fucking do that? Killer Bee trains Naruto in this segment in how to use his fox monster or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
It goes on for some time, and it grates more and less than it normally would. Where it grates less is that it is a break from the Ninja War at times.
Okay. I don't know if it's like the second time or the third or however many times it's been where Naruto gets spirited away for a training arc every time shit goes down. It bothered me at first, and now it's just funny because I think I've kind of, probably just because I've checked out as much as I have. Okay, imagine if the big snake from Skypiea like followed them back down after the arc was over and just showed up to swallow Luffy for like a dozen chapters at a time every time Oda realizes, oh fuck, I fucked up the power scaling. Snake time. It's snake time now.
They're in an underground prison. Not underground. They're in an underwater prison at the bottom of the ocean. The snake just comes up to chomp him so that even can fight for a bit.
Exactly. Like, punted over to Turtle Island isn't as funny as eaten by a snake out of nowhere. But I'm working with what I got here, and for what it's worth, it is kind of funny to me at this point.
Fucking bizarre. There's I guess the best thing that comes of it is that little scene where Iruka's written a note from Naruto after trying his level best to stop Jesus.
Hiruka is so fucking weird to me.
He is a strange construct. He pays some dividends there. And it's kind of interesting to me how... To me, it says something very grim about that entire block of time, the way people were. That a lot of what this got shit on for was its sort of posy bullshit, when the positive messianic stuff is actually kind of what works in this comic. To me, it is the least broken gear of late-stage Naruto.
Yeah, I'm actually fascinated with how good of an element the whole Takno Jutsu thing, as it is so derisively called, is. Whereas all the edgier elements are the worst thing about this
Yeah,
show.
the edgier elements taste like nails.
There's something about all the edgy parts of Naruto that feel just really, really fucking, like, defanged and PG-13. And so what ends up happening is because so many of the bad guys are darkness types of bad guys, they end up feeling like such fucking tryhards. And I don't know what it is that just so falls flat in terms of, like, menace with the bad guys in the series. I referred obliquely to this. This is not something that I have actually come up with an answer to. I don't know exactly why I just cannot take the menace that these characters are supposed to have seriously, or why everything falls so amazingly flat whenever, like, there's a darknessy element introduced here, or, you know, to a character. And why it feels so amazingly just like it's not working at all. I don't know. What do you think?
I know that in our text history, there is a point where I send you the page where Sasuke returns to our lives. And there's me screen capping him basically saying something to the effect of, "Time for darkness." And my eloquent commentary is, "Fuck."
Oh yes, I'm looking at it right now. It just feels so unwelcome.
You can sort of see how effective each one is based on the reaction that Kishore tilts for. And the ones where he's expecting you to really find an operatic kind of cool out of it really fall flat.
Yeah, I would agree.
So the guys that work, right? Like, and when I say that, I guess I mean your Pains, etc.
Mm-hmm.
They're closer to a Monte Cristo thing where you're saying, "Oh, you've cracked. Okay, cool."
Yeah, you're just.
Diegetically cracked. I'm not so much being asked to look at you and say, "Wow, based." In that YouTuber inflection.
Yes.
Whereas your Tobis and your Sasuke's will hold one pose for 15 minutes while a fucking down-tuned fucking version of a Visual K song plays in the background. Waiting for you to believe they're fucking cool.
Oh my god, I'm just picturing just... I don't think that TM Revolution ever did any music for the Naruto franchise, but I'm kind of fucking feeling that right now. That's because I listened to enough of his shit. That's great.
Yeah. That's where a lot of that ends up for me. I think one problem that is unique to Sasuke is that he is bounced beneath 3 different layers of greater schemers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure I would have given more of a shit, but it would have been more my fault that I don't give a shit. If you would just let him be more of an active character, and I don't know what road leads to coming up with instrumentality, but maybe he comes up with the bullshit Eye of the Moon thing. Maybe he cuts out his fucking brother's eyes with a melon baller. Maybe he makes choices and changes and does things. And you have this whole natural genius thing that we've wanked on. Yes, that the idea, he falls when he gets jealous. Kind of lame for a villain. Better, if we're gonna do this whole Madara fucking joking into the Gowanus Canal thing, and you will never hear me say this again, it would have actually have been better for just Genius Boy Sasuke to be fucking cracking heads throughout that entire sequence. At least that wank would have been to the ends that this thing has tried to be about over time. Like, this whole thing has been about the rise of the Dark One. Okay, fine. Let him do some Dark One shit instead of just sort of... Sasuke is Evil's intern, and I'm being asked to treat him like a CEO. He is just holding...
He's Evil's fail son.
Evil's fail son. That's fucking great.
He's not an intern, he's just an over-promoted... He's Roman Roy.
He's Roland Roy. Toby's over here. He's running his diamond mine. He's using South African labor of the old variant. And his son just comes in one day and says, I just bought Twitter. I have a diamond miner too. And Toby's like, great. That's great. You're great.
Grimes, she just thought that my cock was too big. That's why.
She just couldn't handle the heft.
She couldn't handle it.
Oh, man. So, yeah, if there's a version of Sasuke's arc that works, carrying coffee for darkness is not that one. Pixar's storytelling fucking hacks aren't laws and are often just not applicable to various narratives, but that one merging rule of some redundant figures can be really useful for a lot of things. If you want a free lesson from one of my fucking workshops, which, yes, I, Dennard Dayle, who shouted about, like, Orochimaru touching kids for half an hour, occasionally teach fucking Ivy League writers' workshops, and that is one of the bigger takeaways of Naruto, is this whole section is really redolent with double, triple, quadruple beats and themes, and it's one thing when that kind of thing happens over time, and these themes can sort of echo off each other and actually be a kind of dialogue with each other. They're all jumbled together here in a way that interacts extremely poorly, by the way, with his tendency for explaining. That's one thing about the Ninja War think I've underrated in terms of like why it doesn't work for me. Everything is densely packed, but you insist on explaining it at that same length, and it just makes it feel even longer than it is.
It's like it's happening to you 3 times at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if it was just happening to you once at a time, it would be a lot. And also, it's like, here it is again, all at once. Fuck.
The gods did something really interesting to the structure of the Uzumakiad here. Because the chapter that all this leaves off on is Madara's introduction. And I'm stepping on my own shit here.
Yeah.
In 2021, I had a pinched nerve.
I remember that.
It is one of the more excruciating physical sensations I've experienced.
I have to imagine.
Let's call it the third most just physical fate I felt in my life. I would say that the second is the fucking dick pain I felt when Madara's dumbass appeared back on my cell phone screen for the second time in my life. And just knowing that all the text ahead of me is from a comic called Madara the Madara.
I kind of like that you've read this already and that this is my first time through. That there's sort of a diversity of reactions here as much as there can be, between two people. Because I had a slightly different reaction at this point. Is it even fair to say that I had Here. By the time Madara shows up, I was so numb. I was so numb to all of this that I don't even have a reaction or an impression to share with you. And you know what? Why should I? Like, Like, oh, what's the matter, Madara? Or what's the fucking matter? Like, was I supposed to have an oh shit left in the tank after 50 fucking chapters of endless fucking zombie ninjas piling up like a fucking inbox? I saw through time, asshole! You think you're special? You're gonna take the big gold belt off Toby later? Fuck you. Do you even know where that's been? Do you understand how little I give a shit who the big bad guy is anymore? You are late. Fuck you. You're late. There's like 90 guys who got here before you, and the guy with the haircut is way more entertaining. You are just another fucking edgelord Sharingan guy. No, I don't care. I refuse to give a shit about Madara. He's just gonna get fucking pinned by the moon lady.
Fucking Madara. At some point, you need to change antagonist style, because somebody already came in with magic eyes and killed the main cast and resurrected them. What the fuck is he going to do anyway? Which I guess feeds back to my original point of Naruto being one of the most over comics in history by this point. I would in fact say that the darkest resurrection of the fucking Edo Tensei is the franchise Naruto, because we are in Shippuden here.
Yes, exactly.
Which is fucking mystifying.
We got 140 chapters left, right? What could possibly fucking happen? Like, how? What is going to happen in those next 140 chapters that, like, possibly...
Do you remember that one panel where Madara punched someone, and then Gaara pointed at his mouth agape and said, "My God, look at the heft and size of his cock."
Oh, so this is like one of those 1984 things. Just imagine that forever.
Imagine that forever.
Great. I'm so excited.
Before we go, I know there's so many other problems here, but I think we have time for Kishimoto's sexism watch.
Yep. Oh. Yeah. He actually got points once. He got points back once here, which is where Ino finishes those brothers, right?
Yeah. She gets to do a thing actively. Kish seems to like the mind transfer jutsu more than the reader, so good for him.
This is the first time in, I think, what might be hundreds of chapters that a female character has unambiguously won anything. And it's... Why is this notable?
Tsunade is fascinating to me in these pages.
Oh, she's just so sorry, Naruto, hands tied. God, Jesus Christ.
Because she comes out here in what I can only call full DNC battle regalia. And things. Sorry about our ideals and dweebs, Naruto. But we gotta obey procedure. And Naruto's over here just fucking pointing at Project 2025 like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Tenten gets off-screened by her own weapon.
Oh my god, yes, she does. Fuck. Someone, I don't even know who it is, but like, Kabuto or someone, like, knocks out and kidnaps stuff.
Anko.
It was Anko. Oh, okay, cool.
Because using all of his action framing talent, he specifically frames them meeting up. It's like the fucking Duel of the Fates. They're both snake kamehamehaing into each other for a panel. Can she overcome the legacy of Orochimaru's abuse or whatever? Nope. You're born one of, like, fucking Orochimaru's camp victims, die one of Orochimaru's camp victims, suck a dick, I guess.
Do we even see her lose? I can't even remember.
We do not see her
Oh
lose.
god, they don't even fucking...
She's just sort of being dragged like a piece of meat.
It's just this foregone conclusion. Like, yeah, you know what was gonna happen. Why do I don't need to waste screen time on this like I waste screen time with literally every single other fucking time.
Oh, and then we have chumping out Paper Girl's big sacrifice.
Yes. Yep. Another...
She has a nice spot where she mixes just a suicide vest in with her powers. It's very elaborate. It makes sense in context. It's breezier than I thought it would be. Then afterwards, Toby goes nope because he got to keep Toby strong.
Yep. Yeah, he's like he's not gonna sell. Fuck you.
And he knocks her out and magics the location of her or whatever. Which, by the way, in terms of undermining the sacrifice, the guy doing this has magic people finding eyes. So I don't know why we need to. I am sure, in his conscious mind, in his day-to-day interactions, he is fine with people of all genders and stripes. But something hiding within Kishimoto just keeps throwing these Tsunades and killer bees out there.
I swear to God, I don't know about the killer bee part. I don't know that I can speak to that, but the Tsunade part, the Conan part, the Sakura part, at this point, I think he must have... It feels impossible that he hasn't caught on to his own shit and is now just doing it to entertain himself.
Yeah. We're left here with 140 chapters of Madara.
It's Weeaboo Hell.
It's Weeaboo Hell.
We're in Weeaboo Hell.
We are so far down in fucking Weeaboo Hell. I can't see the sun. Alright, thank you all for listening. Thank you, Sam, for being here. Thank you, Madara, for the content, I guess.
This truly has been Weeaboo Hell. Okay, we're going to... let that be done. Like, to make sure that he's, like, not doing it anymore so that it doesn't ruin any of...
Totally fair. I always have to do this double take during that moment because I'm deeply irritated for a second, then I remember it's the third worst job in America.
Yeah, it's like, it's up there.
It's really in the power rankings. Then there's a guy with just like he's just got a fucking spray thing of Febreze, and he goes to every fucking couch that JD Vance has been on. He has just fucking really nuke that mother with it.
Are we putting this one like after the credits in the episode?
Sounds good to me. JD Vance has been on. He has just fucking really nuke that mother with it.
Are we putting this one like after the credits in the episode?
Sounds good to me.